This video contains major spoilers for Persona 5 Royal. The 9th card in the tarot deck, number 8, Justice. It represents, justice. In the Persona series, justice is usually associated with a character who has a strained relationship with one of their parents, and they must work through these unfair life circumstances. Often misguided, they tend to find support and comfort through the protagonist of each game. That is no different for Persona 5. The Justice Arcana is that of Goro Akechi. I'm Ouroboros. Let's talk. If you missed my video on the Fool's Journey, I'd recommend that you watch it before jumping into this series. It goes over the Fool's Journey and gives a brief rundown of each of the major arcana, so go check it out. Anyway, like I said earlier, the Justice Arcana typically reflects a character who, through no fault of their own, is dealt a bad hand. They have a bad relationship with one of their parents, and must find ways to cope and accept that these issues are, in fact, unjust. In tarot cards, justice is associated with many things, but the most prominent of which is justice. Again. But really, it's about fairness, truth, law and order, and integrity. Basically, all of the things we look for in the legal system. Which is, of course, reflected in the tarot card. Now, you may notice that some tarot cards feature justice as the 11th arcana, and some of them feature it as the 8th arcana. The Persona tarot deck seems to be a mix of the Tarot de Marseille and the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. There are a bunch of different tarot decks with their own cards and numbers, but that's what I've found when I've gone digging. If you've got more information on that, feel free to leave it down in the comments, but anyway, back on track. The woman in the Justice tarot card seems to be holding a double-edged sword in one hand, and the scales of justice in the other. The former represents that consequences are dispensed impartially, and the latter furthering the theme of impartiality. When the Fool arrives at the Justice Arcana, he needs to look back at his choices and make connections. He must take responsibility for his actions, and begin to reason about the cycles of cause and effect which have affected his life. This will, of course, lead him to make better decisions and live a more honest life moving forward. It is only through justice that he can move forward and recognize the karma, good or bad, that he has brought upon himself. Akechi is an incredible take on the Justice Arcana. I'll be talking specifically about him in Royal for a few reasons. The first is that his confidant received a massive overhaul to now function more like a traditional confidant. You level him up by hanging out with him instead of the vanilla one where he just levels up with the story. And 2, I haven't played vanilla P5, so... But regardless of which version you play, he behaves more or less the same in the main story. At first, he comes off as what everybody thinks of him. He's the second coming of the Detective Prince. Yes, he clashes with you and the Phantom Thieves ideologically, but his reasoning is never flawed. He believes that you are not reforming society in the right way, that vigilante justice is, in fact, not just. The criminals who you target should be prosecuted through the normal justice system, rather than forcefully changed through illegal means. He holds fast to these ideals, and he's never disrespectful to you or the team. Even in situations when he encounters you, and it's clear that he's caught on, he never really outright attacks you in an antagonistic type of way. Even as you should start to become more suspicious of him, none of his actions really scream that he's a villain. That is, of course, up until the rank 8 scene when he flat out tells you that he hates you. And to me, this may be the single greatest confidant rank in the entire game. Part of it is the lead up to it, but I think it really drives home the message of the reversed justice. See, Akechi's life has really been a series of terrible circumstances. His mom was shunned as a sex worker who then committed suicide, and his father is the most corrupt and powerful person in all of Japan. He was also chosen by the god of control to be a puppet in his game, one destined to sow chaos. So Akechi never found justice in his life. It was entirely unfair. From his birth all the way to his death, with big ol' air quotes around death, he was never put in a position to succeed. In spite of that, he still manages to. He's smart, good-looking, and charismatic, but never used these gifts for the good of others. He created this pristine facade so that he could enact his revenge on Shido. Reverse meanings of the Justice Arcana include dishonesty and retribution. The perfect description for Akechi. Sadly for him, he never really moves past these issues. There's no real redemption for him either. I mean, yeah, he fights his shadow in Shido's palace and helps you against Maruki, but those are entirely for selfish reasons. He doesn't want to be someone's pawn, and he doesn't want to be controlled. Usually when characters move their story arcs in Persona games, they progress from the reversed meanings of the tarot card to the upright meaning. But Akechi, he's never really able to, he's too stagnant. And the other characters take note of this. Akechi is a wild card, he is the other half of Yaldabaoth's game, but due to his closed-off nature and inability to develop meaningful relationships with those around him, he never ends up with more than two personas. One for his noble exterior, and the other for the hollow shell within. It really only feels like Joker is the one who can get through to him. Again, this is reflected in the Confidant. We can see that in the game of billiards that the two of you play. He starts off playing with his offhand, and then once you slowly start to best him, he shows his true colors. Unfortunately for Akechi, it's too little too late. The Phantom Thieves acknowledge that Akechi is just like them. He's been so thoroughly wronged by the corrupt adults in their lives, but when the Phantom Thieves were pulled out of that sorrow and tragedy by Joker, Akechi just caved into his emotions. If Joker had met Akechi earlier, things probably would have been different. But alas, the reverse justice would remain as such. It's ironic, isn't it? The Detective Prince version of Akechi almost feels like the idealized version of himself that he wants to be. In spite of it being a fake projection that he created, I think that he truly does want to be like that. He does want to bring corruption to light in a fair and honest way, but after years without the support he needs, this is what happened. There's a reason Akechi is a fan favorite character. I feel like I'm just scratching the surface of the depth and complexity that Atlus crafted with him. He's the perfect counterpart to Joker. His rampant spread of chaos contrasts with his tarot origins. But when we quickly unmask the rest of the Phantom Thieves to reveal their true selves, we slowly peel back Akechi's mask. He is the embodiment of when our social systems don't help those in need, particularly children. Akechi's lack of growth and deception are indicative of his unjust backstory. He is the unfortunate and tragic culmination of the reverse justice of Persona 5. Thanks for watching.